Mother trilogy are some of the most unique and memorable video games you can play to this day. To me, Earthbound is a top 5 Super Nintendo game, and Mother 3 blew me away and might be one of the greatest stories ever told in a game, period. And Mother 1... well, we love Mother 1. Although the series has long concluded, it will never truly die, and that is because of its community. The Mother fanbase is one of the single most dedicated and passionate fanbases I have ever seen. Always remember that these people actually made a full English translation of the third game that was never localized outside of Japan. That would end up being the ultimate finale for my marathon in 2020. And even during last year's marathon, I played a demo for a recreation of the Mother 64 Space World build. It should come as no surprise that this is just scratching the surface. There are still more fan games out there, and its DNA can even be found in completely original works that have nothing to do with the series officially. I often avoid RPGs for these marathons, not out of dislike, but more so because they usually take a long time to complete, which is why I played Black Pit for 20 hours last year and almost ruined the whole thing. And I still didn't fully complete it. But the lineage of Mother fan games is incredibly rich, and I gotta pay my respects to it more than I already have, which is why I made the exact same mistake again, and put a whole lot of hours into what might be one of the greatest fan creations that I have ever played. Today we're going to be looking at a game called Mother Cognitive Dissonance. This game is old. It is old as hell. This was one of the first Mother fan games to actually get fully completed all the way back in 2009. That's the same year Demon's Souls came out. Not that they have a whole lot in common, but I don't know why I brought that up. In terms of gameplay, it's a pretty self-explanatory and intuitive RPG, and when you play it, you can tell that it was made in RPG Maker, but it disguises its roots very effectively. No expense was spared to recreate the Earthbound look and feel, and the battle system is more intricate than you would expect. Instead of just taking turns, every party member has this cooldown timer that resets whenever you do an attack. I haven't really labbed it out, but I think that it's tied to your speed stat. Other RPGs have similar systems, but it's refreshing to see a system like this in an RPG Maker game. If only I could have put that in Robotnik's Mighty Pingus. I'm sure there is some kind of wacky meta to this system where timing certain actions at certain times allows you to eat God and take the throne in the heavens. I just haven't figured out what it is, because I'm a believer in the age-old philosophy of do nothing except spam the basic attack, and if I die it's because RPGs are lame and I only play Mario Land. They even added in the feature where if you out-level an enemy by a significant amount, you can just kill them instantaneously by walking into them. You can even get XP for it. If you are the type of RPG player who likes to take a block of time out and just grind XP like a caveman lifting rocks in his cave to get buff enough to punch a dinosaur in the face, you'll notice pretty quickly the situations where you can just keep entering a room, stepping on a little baby enemy, exiting and re-entering and doing it again and again to become even more overpowered. It is easy to get overpowered in this game. The balancing is not perfect like most RPGs, but I mean, it's still better than Mother 1. Something I appreciated a lot about this game is the pacing. It can be easy to get lost in an RPG and end up not knowing what the hell you're supposed to do for half an hour, and they often combine this with a runtime that can go up to as many as 60 to 80 hours. The result is a game that can often feel laborious to play. Cognitive Dissonance was relatively straightforward in that respect, although I did get lost in space a couple times trying to get to Mars to drop more bars, but just ended up at Jupiter like I was more f***ing stupider. The worlds are mostly easy to grasp and to navigate, and there isn't really an abundance of identical hallways that drive you insane. It's a refreshingly straightforward RPG that still manages to maintain a comparable scope to the games it's trying to emulate. On that note, it is stunning how authentic to the Mother attitude this game is. The weirdo enemies, the bizarro otherworldly audio-visual essence, the funky offbeat sense of humor combined with a really weird narrative that raises as many questions as it answers. All of these Mother components are given the respect they deserve in Cognitive Dissonance. But it isn't just recycled or repurposed from the existing titles, it's all new stuff that has been made by people who know how to think in terms of Mother. All of these characters have something interesting to say. Just like the official games, this is one of those RPGs where the game is fun because you get to talk to everyone and not in spite of the necessity to do so. There are tons of jokes and references not only to the Mother series but other games and media as well, and chances are you'll probably recognize some of it, and I have to wonder how many things I missed. One of the most distinctive parts of the Mother series is the soundtrack. It's just so bizarre and otherworldly, but at the same time, still remarkably catchy and even has the potential to move your soul. Mother Cognitive Dissonance honors that rich tradition tremendously with its score of remixed tunes from the previous titles and songs that I don't recognize at all, which I'm just gonna assume are original compositions. And of course, you cannot forget about the song that plays when you're escaping the exploding space station and fighting your way through hordes of enemies like your life depends on it, because it absolutely does. This is such a badass scene and the music completely sells it. Have a listen. Wait, this sounds familiar. Then you have the story, which has always been one of the strongest elements of all of these titles. Mother Cognitive Dissonance takes place between Mother 1 and 2, shortly after Gaigu's failed attempt to invade Earth. Although he was defeated, he's still kicking in some form, and he's kinda lost his mind and is cooking up some cataclysmic scheme, so it's up to our intrepid heroes to save the day. Beano, Plonko, Glip, and of course, Mr. Dr. Colonel Saturn, who will be played by Chris Pratt. He's so cool. It's very refreshing to play a Mother title where you're not actually playing as the human characters, but rather a gang of misfit aliens and robot thingies who get caught up in the middle of something much bigger than themselves. You have Niyu, the kinder, more compassionate counterpart to Gaigu, who helps you on your quest to collect the Apple of Enlightenment. Greyface, who is actually a major spoiler in reality. And of course Boson, the rapping spaceship guy who has a jukebox. The story is not just a riff on one of the existing titles with some slightly changed text. This is a legitimate addition to the story. The game has its own characters, its own dramatic moments, its own lore, its own atmosphere and setting that complements the official titles very effectively, while also playing very heavily on existing speculative theories surrounding them. This is not just a game made by fans, it is a game that is absolutely made for fans as well. There are a lot of details that only people who are familiar with the other games and the theories surrounding them are going to pick up on, and that makes it very special. I truly did feel like I walked away from the game with something. This was not just a game I was playing because it was a Mother fan game. There is legitimate intrigue and mystique that made me want to keep going and find out what was really happening underneath the surface. So, do I recommend that you play Cognitive Dissonance? Well, my man, I believe I do. Even among full official games that I've played this year, Cognitive Dissonance is something that stands out. It is a victorious, towering achievement for anybody who loves the Mother trilogy, and I do not understand how I made it this long without ever touching it before. There's really nothing more to say, it's just good. Like, damn. Now, tomorrow's video is a little bit out of season, but I think you'll appreciate it anyway. And with that said, have fun watching the Game Awards tonight. I know they're probably gonna be really bad, but at least you can maybe laugh at it, and who knows, maybe Bill Clinton will be there. But otherwise, Merry Christmas all!